when somebody gets traction in one of these games, what kind of number of users do you think it onboards, and active users? So people who are actually collecting collectibles in games, stuff like that. What are we thinking this is going to do to the space? Because gaming is so vast, right?
So I have two examples. One is another game that's launching on Avalanche. It's a public company called Nexon. It's publicly traded in Japan. It's an Asian company. They have a game called Marble Story. There's about 200 million. It's been around for 10 years. It's a more casual game, so it's not like the graphics of Off the Grid, but it is a well-used and has a lot of longevity, almost 200 million registered users. They have 500,000 to 1 million in terms of monthly active users, depending on what's happening. They are going to launch a blockchain-enabled version of it in parallel with their existing game. So that will be the first test case of how many people start migrating to do. They're doing it for two purposes, not just for user better self-sovereign data and feeling like you own your assets on the user perspective, but some of the highest margins for a lot of these games is UGC, user-generated content. So the composability of tools on an open permissionless network allows their users, their players, to actually become developers and create new modules or new assets, and that's actually free content. So some of the best gaming companies out there with the highest margins, it's because they have users who create content. And that will be an example of a large existing base of Web2 gaming that will be migrating, and that'll be a specific example. Now, I have some numbers of other things that are actually happening. It's not as big as that, and they're slightly in a different space, like in loyalty, royalty, we can talk about now or later.
Before we go on to loyalty, royalty, and real world assets and stuff, just want a side question. I'm seeing a lot of interest from Japanese corporates. We've just seen Sony announcing its own layer 2. You're obviously doing stuff with Japanese corporates. I'm seeing it everywhere. What is happening in Japan that's suddenly kind of switched on the light bulb for the Japanese corporate players? I understand a lot of gaming comes out of Japan as well, but what is going on there? Are you seeing the same?
And rest of Asia too. Korea,
yes, Korea as well.
Clear. So I think what's going on is we always have the perspective of a U.S. person, and the regulatory environment here has gotten harder, whereas the clarity has happened elsewhere in the world. So I think what you're seeing is Japanese corporates, Korean corporates, and other places in the world don't have as much uncertainty of what they think a stablecoin will be or not be going forward, and what's considered a security or not a security going forward. And they're willing to now take the steps in terms of developing technology for that when that clarity becomes imminent. In the U.S., frankly, I think it's still more uncertain and the rules are still more vague. So it's almost like looking at it in reverse. It's like they're doing it on schedule. Unfortunately, we in the U.S. are off schedule a little bit.
We hope you enjoyed the video. At Real Vision, we help you understand the complex world of finance, business, and the global economy with in-depth analysis from real experts. Join the revolution at realvision.com.